Hello and welcome to Recharge Wrestling. We are here to plug you in to the world of professional wrestling. I'm Keeney. I'm back this week and I'm joined by Krusty.
Hey, everyone.
So it's a two-man pod this week. Fax Fisher is not here. He is out collecting more facts for next week's show.
That means this is going to be chaos and be full of absolute rubbish. So I apologise in advance if nothing makes sense.
May not be as structured as without Fisher here, but we will bring you the standard WWE content as has been the case for the last few weeks. So we'll kick off with some news and then we'll go into Smackdown, Raw and NXT. And then there will probably be an AW video to look out for down the line, probably from Fisher.
Of course, from Fisher.
Fisher is our AW correspondent. He's probably on the phone to Tony Khan right now as we speak. But let's get into news.
So this is quite surreal for me because this is a bit of an Ezekiel Elias thing going on here because I'm used to seeing Fisher staring across from me, and I've suddenly got Keeney. Not too sure where he's been, but I'm pleased to see him back. Yeah. So I hope we have a good video and podcast for you all.
Am I Ezekiel or Elias in that? That's like
you can be Elias, but towards the end of his reign when no one was too bothered.
Cheers. Yeah.
Everyone had forgot about him when he was off TV for 6 months.
Hey, I've been producing my GM content on the reg.
You have, yeah. It's been keeping us going.
Absolutely pounding that YouTube channel with content. Anyway, give us some news, Krusty.
So some quite sad news. This isn't confirmed yet by WWE, but reports are coming out all over the internet from some of the big guys that Randy Orton is potentially going to have back surgery and could be out for the rest of 2022, which is a massive blow because we were originally told that it wasn't that serious and he was just resting it as a precaution. Not that it was going to be bad, which is really sad because this Randy Orton face run has been incredible and probably some of the best stuff he's ever done. He's so over. And with some of the other stars being out, such as Cody, Roman's schedule, which we'll talk about a bit later on. You've also got the likes of Sasha Banks, not present at the moment. They're really starting to struggle for star power, and it's just a shame when he was doing so well and being so enjoyable with SummerSlam coming up as well. Yeah, really sad.
Yeah, it is a big blow because Orton was probably the biggest face in the company. Well, him or Cody were the two biggest faces, and to lose both of them in a short period of time is huge. And I think obviously we'll go on to the week of TV that they produced, but I think it's showing that they're missing these big stars. We'll say without Roman there, and you mentioned Sasha, but even Charlotte's taken time off. There's a lot of big stars.
Bailey's not back yet.
Yeah, Bailey, and they're relying on like Riddle and
Seth Rollins show.
Yeah, I mean, Sami Zayn's getting more TV time than usual. I mean, the Usos are putting on a bigger shift now, which is good to see them getting more TV time. But it's a big blow for WWE, and they need to make the one good thing about this is they need to make more stars, and this might be their kick up the backside to push Riddle, to push.
Yeah. Well, I really think this is Riddle's opportunity, isn't it? Orton's brought him to this level, and now, unfortunately, it may not be the case, but he can hopefully fly now, can't he?
Yeah, and I think he's a great Riddle, so I've no doubt that he can. I mean, again, we're interested to see what happens this coming Friday. So he's obviously got that match, which we'll get into after the SmackDown section. But yeah, I think it's a big moment for Riddle in his career. This is to see if he's reliable. Because we still got Drew around as well, but he's not quite doing as much at the moment.
That's going to start
kind of in the mid card
time soon, isn't it? So
yeah,
what we're expecting anyway.
Build up to Clash. That is still 3 months away, Clash. So we've got a little while. Even though he's declared he wants the match for the title at the pay-per-view.
Yeah, that has to sell some tickets, that's for sure. But fingers crossed for Orton. And we mentioned Sasha Banks briefly. Again, not confirmed, but there's more rumours and speculation that she is on her way out of WWE. Apparently her attorneys were at WWE last week trying to resolve this contract issue where WWE are just letting her stay under contract without her actually competing or doing anything. It's a difficult situation, and I'll be really sad to see it go, but it's really hard to see where you can go when there's so much sort of animosity between WWE and Sasha.
Yeah, I mean, I think I might have said it at the time when they walked out of that Raw, that I don't know how you almost don't know how you come back from that. That's quite a big kicking your toys out of the pram thing to do, and that's won't sit well with Vince or with the higher ups of WWE to just walk out on a show when you're booked in a match. And again, Sasha Banks is such a big blow, and obviously the reason it's a bigger blow now is because you've got another company across the road who are gonna be looking at signing her up ASAP. AEW have had previous work-ins with Snoop Dogg. He was in a match or something, or he appeared during a match like a year or so back. I mean, he did that splash from the top rope, I seem to remember. So they've got links in there already, and I mean, Sasha Banks on AEW,
I think it would be pretty brilliant, to be fair. The only thing is, I'm worried from a viewer's point of view that she may step away from wrestling just because she's got these links in Disney. You know, the money, although it's big in the likes of WWE, and I'm sure she was one of the highest paid stars, it's nothing compared to being in a Disney franchise or something like that. And she may think, well, you know what, I'm just going to step away from this. I can't be bothered anymore, which will be sad because I know Fisher, it's his favorite female superstar across all the brands, and I know we really like her as well. She's brilliant, absolutely fantastic. So yeah, it'll be a massive blow, but
it will.
Yeah,
I think
we'll
that's a good point as well about going into TV, and obviously what we don't know yet is what happens with Naomi, because she's the other one, and from what you hear, it's Sasha that led this walkout.
Yeah.
So maybe they'll just welcome Naomi back once Sasha's gone and blame Sasha for it. Maybe, you know, again, Naomi has the links with the Usos, who are a big part of their TV currently with Roman.
I can't see them letting her go. I really can't.
No.
I could almost see them pushing Naomi, is it in a bit of spite?
Yeah.
To almost get back at Sasha.
Yeah.
And I have no idea what's going on with the women's titles now. I mean, we were promised a tournament, wasn't we? And it's just they've probably gone, actually, we don't have enough teams for this.
Yeah, we have no one for it. Yeah, I mean, they should just scrap it. Honestly, I don't know. They've not booked them well since Sasha and Bailey had it, and they just get in the way, I think.
I read something earlier. It's to show how big star Sasha Banks is. And Bailey, that you just mentioned, because in the Thunderdome pandemic era, the biggest ratings was when Sasha and Bailey faced off. And I think it was huge ratings, even by today's standards. It was very good for Smackdown. I think it was 2.5 million, which was over double what they had been getting. So it shows the draw that she is and what a loss it will be.
Yeah, and you also forget about how good Bailey was. Like during the pandemic era, Bailey along with Drew were the real standout stars. And her, I mean, I'm sure Vince or whoever will be on the phone to Bailey all the time saying, please, can you come back? Because God, we could do with you right now. Because not only is she great in ring, she could take up a lot of time on the mic and in segments.
Yeah.
She's almost like the female Sami Zayn, but better in ring, like higher up the card. So they'll be desperate to get her back ASAP, but I'm surprised she's not back already, because I thought she'd have been back by now, but she must not be cleared.
I'm really looking forward to seeing her back. It's one of those, again, like Oscar, where I wasn't too bothered when they were. I mean, it was sad that they got injuries, but I wasn't too bothered that they'd step back. But now Oscar's back, I'm really enjoying it, and when Bailey comes back, I think I'll be really excited. A bit of an absence makes the heart grow fonder. So should we move on to this week's viewings and start with Smackdown?
Yeah. What was your takeaway from Smackdown this week?
So Smackdown wasn't too bad. I mean, this week's wrestling has been very average, I think. But I mean, let's start positive. I think I'll go straight in with my top mark.
Yeah, go for
And
it.
we had Gunther versus Ricochet in an Intercontinental title match, which Ricochet has done a brilliant job of carrying this title, I think. He's been defending it for a start, whereas when Shinsuke had it, we barely saw this title. And I really think it's been elevated, the fact that it's actually been televised. And this match to us felt big because we knew Gunther as Walter in NXT UK, as this unstoppable force in NXT. I thought this match was great. They both put a real big performance in, and Ricochet was selling these moves just like mad. There was one standout point where there was a massive drop kick from Gunther, and Ricochet flew over half the ring. He is so skilled at selling moves. It just
Yeah.
looks awesome. And the fact then, the result, Gunther won the Intercontinental title, which is really pleasing to me because I was very worried when Gunther was coming up the ranks. I've always said it. I'm probably on a podcast somewhere saying I don't think he'll suit the main roster. I know they've had to make him a heel in a particular way to make people dislike him, but his wrestling style is just great and really suits the heel destroyer. And at the moment, they're not taking that away from him. I mean, he's still doing his massive slaps that you hear ring throughout the stadium. So yeah, my top mark really is the fact that this match was one, it was great, but that it was more the fact that Gunther is getting the push he deserves and needs. And I could honestly see Gunther versus Drew at some point if Drew wins one of the titles. I think that would be an awesome feud down the line that could have real star power.
Yeah, I think this was great, and I think when we saw this match announced, I think we would have all said Gunther's going to be Ricochet because we know how good Gunther is, and that. And the thing is with Gunther is, I know what you mean about his style, but so many great matches, and Fisher's the biggest advocate for this. So many of his matches are like match of the year contenders, his big matches, because he performs, and Ricochet's the perfect opponent. Ricochet will sell for him, so yeah, it worked perfectly. The question I have is, does Gunther elevate the Intercontinental title, or does the Intercontinental title drag Gunther down to the level it's been at for a while?
I think will
Gunther seem mid-card, or will he seem top?
I think Gunther is going to start mid-card, but I think the way they should build this is just have Gunther hold this title for a year or so and just destroy everybody. So no chance of him losing. So just absolutely like Goldberg when he was just winning and winning and winning, like back in the day when he had a streak. I think you want that, and then maybe you even get a situation where he has the title and it grabs someone like Drew, whoever, I don't know, Drew, Roman, whoever's got the title at the time, grabs their attention, and you have title versus title to make it as important as the main title. And I don't know, you either have winner takes all, or the lower title gets dropped and into a tournament or something, just to really elevate the prestige and solidify Gunther as this absolute destroyer. I think that's what needs to happen. If he loses it 3 months down the line, I think he's done, unfortunately.
Yeah, I agree. The reason I asked that question is because the role he's in and the role you've just described there of being a dominant champion, no one can beat him. That's what Roman Reigns is currently doing on SmackDown. So was doing, but can you have two of like? I'd feel better for Gunther if he was on Raw, because I think he could just be the top guy on Raw. But on SmackDown, I feel like he's always going to be in Roman's shadow a little bit. I don't know if Roman's not around, then he can do that. But obviously this week we've got Roman is back this week having a match, and all of a sudden, if Gunther's on the show on Friday, he's going to be an afterthought.
I think it's such bad practice, though, to have one star. If you think back to the days of the Attitude Era, where you would look forward to every title being defended, you'd have, like, let's say Triple H or The Rock holding the heavyweight title, and then you'd have like Jericho holding the Intercontinental, and you wouldn't think, oh, Jericho's the lesser star. They need that. So, and we'll talk about that more on Raw. That it's like they really struggle when people are away. You want to elevate all the titles, so anything that's defended. In an ideal world, we'd not notice Roman's not been around, but we are. That's a bad thing. I know we've got other people injured, which hasn't helped, but yeah, I hope they do the right thing. They've started this right by putting the title on Gunter, having him win not easily, but convincingly.
Yeah.
And I just hope they don't drop Ricochet as well. I want Ricochet to continue because he has been getting over with the crowd. He really has.
He has. I mean, I don't think they can afford to just not have Ricochet on TV at the moment because SmackDown is, I mean, completely like void of any stars. So they need Ricochet. He's one of the biggest stars on the show currently. So they need him around. But yeah, I mean, I would like to see Walter hold it and him and Roman never meet. And then all of a sudden, one day, they just meet face to face, and then we get Walter and Roman, these undefeatable guys, could just go at it.
Well, I honestly think Roman's going to. I mean, well, I don't think he's going to keep the titles. I think that is why it won't be him who clashes. It'll be someone like Drew clashing with Walter down the line because you've got a massive face and a massive heel. Yeah, and it would be just insane. Two big lads just going at it.
I want to see
work. So
I want to see Gunter and Sheamus go at it. Like just an absolute.
Just get all the big lads in the ring.
Slap fest, just chop Sheamus likes as well. It would be mental.
Oh yeah,
that would be crazy. So should we move on to Roman? We've mentioned Roman a lot already, and he was even on the show, but he is set up to be on next week's show or this week coming show because Riddle won in the main event against Sami Zayn in a match to earn himself a title match.
Yep.
And again, the big thing here that stood out to me is it is for the WWE Undisputed Universal title. They are describing it as one title. They're not saying, oh, he's fighting it's not even like it's a match for two belts or a match for one of the two. It's a match for Undisputed Universal.
I got confused by that because does the Undisputed Universal, because he's defended it, so it is undisputed that he is the Universal Champion?
I think they've just thrown all sorts of
the
words
fact they call it
in the title
says to me that it is two titles. That it just because it says Universal in the name.
So that's interesting because I took it as the two belts.
I can see the confusion.
Won. Yeah,
but the fact that he says, I don't think they can afford to just have one belt.
So if they made it clear it's for one belt, then the chances of Riddle winning increase a lot because you could easily give Riddle a title. He's at that level, I think, right now.
You could, but would you do it on a SmackDown?
You can't have Riddle. Well, maybe not. Yeah, you can't have Riddle be the champion. Because he's not at that level. He's not on God mode like Roman Reigns. He's the level below. But yeah, so I mean, again, looking ahead, I don't think Riddle's going to defeat Roman Reigns for the title.
Well, there's also the stipulation that whilst Roman has the title, he's not allowed to challenge again.
Yeah,
for that title. But does that mean he could then go across to Raw and challenge for the WWE title?
That's the confusion. I don't know.
Or he could just say, "Well, I want the other title," and it goes to SmackDown. There's so many possibilities they could do with it, but
that's the other thing. They put a stipulation on this match on last week's SmackDown to say. Obviously, if Riddle wins, he gets his title shot. But if he loses, then he's not allowed on SmackDown anymore. And I'm thinking, well, he's not even a SmackDown superstar. So why is that a stipulation for him? He's a Raw superstar. That's the point,
actually. Yeah, I forgot.
Yeah, it's a weird stipulation. Yeah. He's like, not on the show. You're not even on. Like, I know they are lax in the rules, and they kind of have to with the amount of stars. But yeah, it's a weird stipulation for me.
I think they've thrown this match together, to be honest. I don't think this was a long-term plan. I think they've just gone, oh, we need some decent viewing here. Let's get Roman back. It's
a shame because they could have built Roman into a storyline without having him have to appear. He could have just recorded segments backstage, records them in. It doesn't have to be at the show. He can send them in because he had a potential feud with Shinsuke lined up. He had a potential feud with Drew. They went into that 6-man tag at the last pay-per-view. So he's had potential feuds there, and they've not built on them, and they've left him off TV and not. Again, Shinsuke's doing nothing. Drew's fighting Sheamus currently. They're not really involved in the title picture right now. And I mean, they want to get Roman on TV. They want to just draw a big crowd on Friday. I'm assuming that's the reason for bringing Roman back for this show. But yeah, it's strange booking. But I'm assuming Roman's contract says, well, I'll only appear once a month or something.
Well, maybe it's time for me to get skiddy.
Yeah, go on.
This is my skid mark is Roman Reigns' schedule since WrestleMania. I love Roman Reigns, but why on earth you would put both of your main titles onto a superstar and then not have them appear? He's not defended the title since WrestleMania. He's not due to defend it at Money in the Bank either. And you can sort of get away with that if he's on TV or doing video packages saying, I've destroyed everyone, so I'm not defending it. But it's almost like he doesn't exist. It's really weird. And whether or not your contract says you should be on TV, I understand he's worked hard. There may be something else behind it. He might have some injuries or something going on. Fair enough. But don't put both titles on him if that's the case, or at least have him work some video packages to, as you say, to keep it going and keep the interest. Because all at the moment we're thinking is, where's Roman? It's just insane the fact that he's taken Brock Lesnar's schedule, which is just weird. And when we get onto Raw, we'll discuss more how much the television's suffering, because you've not got these titles, so they're throwing any old crap on the TV, which really it'd be so much better, one, if you had a title involved, or two, if you had Roman sort of floating around, because he is one of their biggest stars. And it's really odd to me that even though all these stars are out, Orton, now Cody, you're not bringing in Roman to fill the gap. So I know you need to push new stars, but not when there's no belt. There's no belt, so there's nothing to go for. It's really weird.
The thing that's a real problem is no one's really mentioning the titles. Like Riddle has mentioned it slightly recently. Like Drew mentioned it about Clash of Champions, but like, why is Seth Rollins, Bobby Lashley, I don't know, Edge, all of these guys, why they're not saying, I want to be champion? Like there is nothing to go for right now. There is no pinnacle on, because there is no one there. There's no face of the company. Roman is the face, but he is not an active face. And like you mentioned the Brock thing, he is becoming dangerously close to becoming the Brock Lesnar. And not the Brock Lesnar we all like, but the Brock Lesnar that everyone got annoyed with. He is close to becoming that, because he's unbeatable and he's not on TV. And so
you can't do that. If you want to be, in my opinion, if you want to be a pro wrestler in this sort of status and you want to be champion, you have to be on TV. You can't not. And why on earth they put both the belts? They should have done it months ago when he was working week in week. Fair play. He was on, I know he didn't wrestle too much, but he was on TV every week, both shows. If he didn't have the belts, I honestly wouldn't be too bothered. I'd be like, he deserves a break, but you can't have both titles. I'm sure the pinnacle of this is going to be amazing. When this tips, it's going to be awesome. If he loses both and it just crumbles beneath him, I think that's going to be great. But he's needed at the moment to do something, or the titles are.
Yeah, like you mentioned about there may be more to it, like an injury, or he's obviously had health issues in the past. Maybe there's more to him not appearing all the time. But you think back to the peak of this Roman Reigns Tribal Chief storyline, he wasn't wrestling. He was backstage whispering in Uso's ears or Paul Heyman, and he was playing all these mind games, and he was being really clever with how he did things. He can still do that and not wrestle.
Yeah.
Like he does, like you don't have to have him come out to the ring and cut 10-minute promos or wrestle 2 matches a week. He can almost do the same amount of wrestling he's doing right now, but still be a big factor on the shows. But he's just doing nothing right now, and it's puzzling, especially with the injuries. Like they need him more than ever right now.
Definitely. So yeah, my skid mark, it isn't Roman, it's his schedule and the fact he's got both titles. I just like him so much. I want him on the TV, or I want the belts so we can actually do something with him.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, let's hope this Friday starts him coming back on TV for a bit.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll eat my hat on Friday.
Hopefully. So we got some Money in the Bank qualifiers on SmackDown as well. I'll start with the one that didn't get a finish, Sheamus and Drew, which, I mean, these guys always have a good match. These guys got so much chemistry in the ring. They're really good friends. Every match they have is really good. This one, no exception, is really, I always find their matches really watchable, Sheamus and Drew. But we didn't get a finish. We got a double DQ. I remember them before, do you remember when they both put their steps on their head and ran into each other? That happened, yeah. And this was like, steel chairs or something they hit at the same time. It was a similar finish, double DQ or double count out. I can't remember the exact finish, but neither of them have qualified for Money in the Bank. I'm assuming they're both going to qualify. That's what I assume from this, because SmackDown only has so many stars. But, what did you make of the finish of this as a qualifying match?
I mean, it's a bit weird, isn't it? I'd rather it actually have a proper finish. Even if one of them had got DQ'd, I suppose would have been okay. Just a bit cheesy, really.
And are you happy to see us go back to Sheamus and Drew? Is this what you want Drew to be doing? He was.
I think you're giving him something to do until Money in the Bank's out the way, and then I think you're going to start to get the build. You've got SummerSlam coming up, so and SummerSlam's quite close to Clash at the Castle, so he needs momentum going towards Roman. Then he can't. I don't know whether you have a match at SummerSlam to determine who faces or what. It's just quite a difficult one.
There's many big stars for him to face right now.
Well, the rumours was obviously Orton versus Roman at SummerSlam, but we now don't know whether that's going to go ahead. Maybe it'll be Riddle. Maybe after Friday we'll find out where that's going.
Yeah.
Just coming to my head, Riddle could have a strong case now to win Money in the Bank, because he can't challenge for it, but can he cash in?
Yeah, I mean, that might be a loophole around it. Yeah, that could be a good point. Because again, I don't know how close we are to Money in the Bank. Again, this is where we need Fisher, because he probably has.
We do need Fisher. When is Money in the Bank?
He has his diary as it's circled on his diary, but we can't be that far away. And right now, we don't have many
2nd
qualifiers.
of July. So we got a couple of weeks yet.
Okay. There is still time to have more qualifiers, because so far we've got one male superstar qualified, which happened on Raw, which we'll get to. So we're still 7 people to qualify yet. So they've got a lot of work to do, but they've got time actually. I thought it was closer than that, so they've got a bit of time left. We did get a women's qualifier on this show, and Lacey Evans made her heroic return. I'm reading this from the website. The heroic return to the blue brand, after she was on SmackDown, went to Raw for no reason and come back to SmackDown again.
I think that little tune's about the best thing about this return, to be honest.
It is, but she's probably a expected qualifier for Money in the Bank. She beat Xia Li here, who we haven't seen much of, and has been a bit of a waste since coming up. In all fairness.
Such a shame again.
Yeah, she had a cool entrance again there with all the thunder and all that. It's quite cool.
We saw a woman's right from Lacey Evans.
Yeah, I like that as a finisher.
Yeah, it's good. She's great in ring. I really liked her before this silly gimmick she's got going on at the moment.
I like her look as well. I quite like. She looks like I don't know. I know she's always been like a muscular woman, but I think her outfit currently really shows it off. I just think she looks, again, maybe she's been working at the gym. I know she's had a kid since we last saw her, but I think she looks great.
She looks really great. She's brilliant in the ring. She can talk on the mic. I just hate the character she's got at the moment. I've liked all of this is a statement. I preferred her with Ric Flair than what she's currently doing. Honestly.
God, that is a big shout.
This is that bad for me. Well, remember back the other week when you were just constantly coming out saying the same thing? It was driving me nuts.
Yeah, it is. They clearly, and I think it's quite obvious, they had no idea what to do with her, because they moved her to Raw and then back to SmackDown again. Yeah. They had no idea what they were doing with her. And I think even now they don't know what they're doing with her. They just, again, it's mad with the how few stars you got available. The fact that there are still some people you have no idea what to do with. Drew being one, I don't think they have no idea what to do with Drew right now. He's in a bit of a holding pattern. And Lacey, I just don't think they know what they're doing with her. But she's in Money in the Bank. I mean, I don't think
I'm sure it'll be a good Money in the Bank. She'll do well there, but
but yeah, a good addition to that. So just quickly, while I remembered it, did you see a video package for the Viking Raiders? Did you see that on SmackDown?
I think so. Or if I did, I didn't pay much attention.
Well, it said coming to SmackDown soon. It's like they've been on SmackDown for ages. Like this isn't. You can't
Probably
do a coming soon.
They got demoted to NXT, so now they're coming soon.
Yeah, so you can't repackage the Viking Raiders. Yeah,
they realised how big Veer got off of coming soon, so they thought they're going to do Viking Raiders.
So I mean, and again, the SmackDown tag division is non-existent.
It's quite scary how good it has been and how it's suddenly becoming quite a mess. They've had a few injuries, obviously, and leaves and things like that.
Yeah.
But it's becoming a bit messy, isn't it? I hope they sort themselves out ready for SummerSlam.
There were actually a few notable omissions from SmackDown this week. There was no New Day. There was no Jinder and Shanky from memory. And also
SmackDown
Shanky's been doing his dancing recently.
I'm quite impressed with that, actually, the fact that you didn't have like the likes of New Day, Jinder, because actually it was a decent show.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was. And actually, the one match we haven't mentioned yet, which we should already mention now, was another title match. Or was it a title match? Yeah, it was, because I remember Ronda saying, do you want a title Shotzi or something?
Yeah.
But we got Ronda and Shotzi here. I mean, I'm quite... you know, I've got a strong stand on how I feel about Ronda Rousey's promo skills, and I just don't think they're very good. But we got to where we did. I actually thought Shotzi come across really well. I will say that I quite like. She seems quite confident, Shotzi, and really like sure of herself, which I like. And the match was good, wasn't it? When it got to it, Ronda and Shotzi.
One thing Ronda's doing, which I love, is putting over lesser stars, lower down the card stars. She's given them matches. It's not a squash match, which you think Ronda Rousey would squash most of the roster. And I love that. I think it's great. Ronda's wrestling and she's on TV, which is brilliant. Not just a 2-second match. And you're getting likes of Shotzi now not being beaten in 10 seconds or whatever it was. They're actually getting a decent match, aren't they? And it was nice to see Ronda use something other than the armbar with the baddest slam she used. Yeah, I like the baddest slam.
Yeah, it was good. And then we got the attack after of Natalya attacking her and then hitting her, putting her in a sharpshooter to throw some jeopardy on that match.
Imagine if Natty wins that title, Money in the Bank. It would be the best thing ever, just because it'd be so funny.
It would be funny. I mean, again, another one we didn't see on SmackDown was Raquel, who's been quite prominent on SmackDown the last few weeks.
I like a bit of rotation. It's good.
Yeah.
I do like a bit of rotation.
The only thing I was upset by was we were promised Max Dupree to show off his first client, and then they're doing it this Friday, but they promised us last Friday. And genuinely, when I turned on SmackDown on Saturday morning, I was like, "Oh, Max Dupree's client. Let's see who it is." And it didn't happen the whole show. So anything I was looking forward to.
We just want to see our man L.A. Knight,
Max Dupree.
Yeah.
He has to have 3 syllables, then he just works. Anything else from SmackDown? I think we probably covered.
I think we've gone through it all. Yeah, it was a decent enough show, wasn't it? So
it was good. It was good. Probably the better of the 2 shows as we move over to Raw.
Raw was so average.
Maybe I should kick off with the skid mark because it leads into what we're saying. So my skid mark is the main event of Monday Night Raw, and it was a pose down between Bobby Lashley and Austin Theory, and the fact that this is main eventing Monday Night Raw says a lot about the lack of stars or lack of direction. I just don't know why this is main eventing your your main show. Raw's historically the main TV show, and the main event. I realize you have to change up the main event, kind of the same people all the time. But thinking about if they had Lashley v Theory in a match, I would have loved it.
Well, there's that point, but there's also the fact they had Seth versus AJ Styles on the card. Why wouldn't that? Why didn't that main event?
And they've got women's stuff going. Like there's a lot of decent women's stuff currently on Raw with like the Rhea and Belair stuff. They could have put that towards the main event, but yeah, and the fact it was a pose down. I know this is very Vince McMahon. He loves all
I
this. They all
don't
got
mind the pose down.
yeah.
But
Well,
the
I know
main
you
event,
don't. Yeah,
yeah,
you love all the strongmen stuff.
but as a main event of a wrestling show, it's a bit weird, isn't it?
And it ended with Theory spraying oil or something, lotion into Lashley's eyes. And then, I mean, we're going to get a US title match between the two, which I think would be really good. Again, I think Theory's on, I think you guys mentioned it last week, Theory is on a rise to the top. And we mentioned
definitely.
all these top stars. Theory is one we haven't mentioned yet, but I think Theory is
He's
destined.
on the way, isn't he?
I mean, what I think he's destined for is John Cena, who's coming back soon. And he made a mention here about John Cena, I think, on this show. I don't have it to hand what he exactly said, but I think he mentioned John Cena or made a. I can't remember what he said. He said something about John Cena anyway. So I think we're going to Cena and Theory
Well,
for
I think
the US title.
been a bit lost, hasn't he? So I mean, even the Omos stuff wasn't great. It gave him something to do, but I really think he's elevated by titles.
Yeah.
So I think here, as you say, you have Theory face Lashley, probably at Money in the Bank. You have Lashley win. He's then got a title that he can be elevated with, and then Theory then goes on for the Cena
at
stuff.
SummerSlam.
Yeah. And when Cena's coming, 27th, isn't it?
Yeah, so I think it's not next week, the week after, maybe.
Yeah, it's a Monday Night Raw. So I think
27th.
what might happen is you're going to get Theory come out and interrupt him, and then maybe Cena interrupts or comes out in the match versus Lashley to then start that feud. And then you've got a Cena input to the pay-per-view, which does elevate it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Automatically.
And it's no surprise they're bringing Cena back, is it really?
Oh, now even I mean, they sort of brought him back before, but now I really think they need him. I'm never too keen on bringing back these big stars all the time and taking other people's limelight, but I think he's needed.
He is, and Cena's different because he could still go quite obviously, whereas the likes of Goldberg or Undertaker, whatever, bringing him out, and these guys can't really go in the same way they could. Where Cena's kind of as good as he was, maybe slightly off, but he's still John Cena. He's still, he looks incredible. So yeah, and I think that's a great spot for Theory. I mean, he's been in there with Stone Cold, Vince McMahon, Pat McAfee. He's been,
they think
Miz.
a great deal of him. I think the Vince storyline is quite kind of real, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, Vince
and
likes
we've
him.
said it before, and they obviously see the same thing. The fact they're potentially putting him against him. He does seem like Cena.
Yeah,
he's like the next Cena.
And I felt that a lot on this, by the way. I don't know. Again, this is my skid mark was the fact that this was headlining the Raw. But actually, I thought Theory played a really good part in this. I love how he walked down with his mic around his mouth rather than a hand mic.
Yeah.
And I just thought he looked like a star. He looked like
the segment I think was good. It's just where they're placing it and the fact that they're struggling so much to get decent content that it happened to headline. I was actually watching it thinking, how is this the end?
I couldn't believe it. I was like, there must be something after this. No, this is the end. This bodybuilding. But yeah, I just think Theory's an absolute star. And it's mad to think from his NXT days where he was kind of a joke. He was a good wrestler, but he was like the dumb one from the way, wasn't he? He was like Gargano's dumb son. That's basically the role he played, where he's come a long way. And he is a future world champion, 100%. Austin Theory, I think.
I look forward to seeing
Theory. It. Sorry, he's no longer Austin, is he?
Theory.
What else from Raw have you got, Krusty?
So let's speak about some women's wrestling. So we had Becky Lynch face Dana Brooke, and she basically the good, I suppose, what the right thing that should have happened is Becky beat the hell out of Dana Brooke. Poor old Dana Brooke. But then Oscar comes down to the ring. That's sort of the main standpoint, isn't it? And they have a big old brawl.
Yeah.
There wasn't much to the match, but it's just again progressing this feud.
Yeah, and I think Becky almost like corrected somebody, because again, I heard you guys last week rip into the Becky Dana Brooke segment. I think maybe Fisher.
Fisher really didn't like it.
I completely agree. I don't think Becky Lynch should be fighting for the 24/7 title and losing to Dana Brooke.
Yeah, I wanted her to win it.
She kind of corrected that this week, and she said, "I'm not interested in your title. Like, she is above 24/7 title. It has zero prestige. It is a nothing belt, and Becky Lynch is one of their biggest stars. And we're finally getting a Becky Asuka feud, not for the belt. That was feud they went with, and then they kind of crowbarred it into the title with Belair. Belair felt a bit like a third wheel in that triple threat match. Obviously, Belair retained. And they're doing the right thing by having Rhea go for Belair. And all of a sudden, you've now got two top women's feuds on Raw. Belair and Rhea, and Asuka and Becky. That is, great stuff, isn't it? So I think they're doing the right thing with this Becky and Asuka feud. I think they'll probably both be in a Money in the Bank match. I mean, there's 2 spots left for Raw. I think they'll be the 2 that get into it. I don't think they'll. Oh, maybe they won't. Maybe they'll have a match on Money in the Bank. And
I mean, you've got Liv and Alexa.
Yeah, so Liv and Alexa won a tag team match to qualify against Doudrop and Nikki.
So that was
ASH.
a qualifying match.
It's a qualifying, tag team match to qualify.
Although the match was okay, I just really wasn't that interested in that, so I didn't pay much attention to the stipulation.
And it was also fairly, to me, again, I knew the stipulation going into it, but I thought it was fairly obvious that Becky and Alexa and Liv were going to qualify.
Definitely.
But I guess...
it's a shame in a way, but also they could be quite a good tag team moving forward, Alexa Bliss and Liv Morgan. They're really well suited in their styles, but if there's no tag belts for them to go for, and if the only teams they can go against is Doudrop and Nikki ASH, it's sort of losing battle,
basically is. I mean, you've got Shayna and Natalia. I don't know what's happened with Carmella and Zelina. They've been off TV for a little while.
They really just need one set of belts across. Yeah, I think all 3 brands, NXT as well. Yeah. I loved it when Sasha and Bayley were going around with the belts, elevating them.
Well, I think it'd be great if we had Toxic Attraction going around with the belts, bringing them to Raw and SmackDown and seeing Gigi and JC, and just that's a great way to introduce them to.
Definitely,
there's no better way to introduce someone to the main roster than with a belt around their waist. It really shows this is. If you don't watch NXT, these are the top guys from NXT. So, yeah. I think that's the way to go. But I mean, so far we've got 3 qualifiers on the women's side. Do you think Lacey, Alexa, or Liv could be Money in the Bank holder, or do you think we're yet to see maybe a Becky or Asuka win it?
I think any of them could be good. I really do. I think Lacey's the least likely. It definitely could be Liv or Alexa if they don't have a direction for them. Alexa Bliss has won it once before. Which makes me think maybe Liv Morgan gives her that little break that she's needed. Because I'm not set in stone here, but my prediction is that Seth Rollins may win Money in the Bank for the second time. So I don't think you'd have 2 winners be 2-time winners. I think that'd be a bit too much. But yeah, it's certainly possible. If you get a Riddle or someone like that win it, then Alexa could win for the second time. But
it's interesting because I can't think of many people from SmackDown who can actually be in it. Raquel, Shayna Baszler, maybe. There's not many.
They're not sort of people that I don't think they're strong enough on the microphone. Maybe Raquel is, but she's too green at the moment.
Yeah, I don't think they'd be holding Money in the Bank. Definitely, I think it's going to come from Raw. I mean, for me, I think Becky makes a lot of sense. She's not won Money in the Bank before, Becky, and I think it might suit her character.
She'd be incredible with that briefcase. In fact, if you give
Becky and Seth,
imagine that they could really do some great. Even if you don't have them coming out together, you just have stuff randomly on social media where they're like looking after the baby but walking around with briefcases. I think that could be awesome. Yeah, I want to see that actually.
Yeah, Becky and Seth. Yep, I'm all for that. Yep. So we should move on actually to Seth, who qualified and is my top mark of the week.
Yeah.
Was just because it's probably the best match I saw this week in WWE. Seth and AJ Styles. Incredible match again. When this was announced as a qualifier, I was actually a bit gutted. One of them had to lose actually, because I want both of them to be in the Money in the Bank match. But I think it's a great decision to have Seth Rollins win. I just think his character, like we just mentioned, with the briefcase could be insane.
Yeah.
I think maybe you guys mentioned it last week, the long-term story of Seth as Money in the Bank, cashing in, Cody comes back, Seth and Cody, WrestleMania for the title.
It writes itself, doesn't it? It writes itself.
Yeah, I just think that is what they should do. Seth would be a perfect person to go with as champion because he is there every week and he
deserves it. He has worked so hard.
He will do so much with that belt. He will not take time off like Roman. He will be there every week, cutting promos, being cocky with it. He'll fight most weeks. I just think he'll be a superb champion. And Seth cashing on Roman's also quite cool as well.
Well, we're going to get that proper story we wanted, didn't we?
Yeah.
We got it for about 2 or 3 weeks, and it was
before
golden.
the Rumble, wasn't it? Yeah.
We could have Seth winding Roman up on and off for weeks.
Yeah.
With that briefcase, and they can go back to the Shield stuff again. We're not bored of it because we got that little hint, didn't we? And he's not lost to Roman because he didn't lose, did he? Okay. So there's a massive deal there. Either way, I want Seth and Roman to have something to happen. I really do.
Yeah, I just think it makes the most sense, doesn't it, for Seth to be Money in the Bank. But we've got
good match.
7 more people to qualify. But yeah, the match itself was my top mark. Absolutely.
The only thing is, what happens to AJ now?
Again, I'm talking about directionless people. AJ is currently directionless, especially as he seems to not be involved with the Judgment Day anymore and their stuff because they've moved away from that. So
what a mess that is.
I don't really know what AJ does anymore. He has no obvious feuds anymore. He's just sat there doing nothing. I mean, one thing I found weird actually from AJ this week was he kind of said, "This is for Cody," and I was like, "Why are you backing up Cody? There's no history between AJ and Cody. It just seems a bit random to just randomly."
He's just a face, isn't he? It's
other than to just mention Cody on TV again, keep him relevant, I guess.
Yeah.
But they are clearly keeping this Seth and Cody feud in our minds because we also saw a video package on Smackdown actually of Seth and Cody, which I don't often do. Don't often show a Raw video package on Smackdown, but they're keeping Seth and Cody in our minds, which
I really
is
can't
interesting.
See any other way it can go. Then there's not much bigger in my eyes of having him return at the Royal Rumble because he's going to want to win a Royal Rumble, isn't he? So
yeah,
there's that, and then he's going to want a WrestleMania moment. It's all there, isn't it? And the contract he'd have got, I think, would have almost given him this, wouldn't it? So
yeah, and he has to be champion at some point because he's proven himself, hasn't he, to the company?
Yeah, big time.
What else did we get on?
There wasn't too much to say about it, but you had Jimmy Uso versus Montez Ford, which was a decent match, but it just ended with a roll up, which was a bit of a shame. Off pretty well, clean though. I know it was a roll up, but it was clean. Montez Ford messed up his frog splash and then got rolled up by Jimmy.
Yeah. I mean, I thought maybe this is their next tag feud. The Street Profits probably is the best way to go. Probably the best team they haven't faced. But they actually have faced them actually quite a lot. But...
loads of time. I was going to say this is just another variation, isn't it?
But yeah, there isn't much going on in the tag division right now. Basically, the only team going Street Profits regularly. Yeah. We opened the show with a Miz TV, which have been used for everyone other than the Miz recently. Miz is just a vehicle to highlight other stuff. He's not doing a lot himself. Another directionless character currently on TV, which we got Riddle and then Paul Heyman. Nice to see Paul Heyman. I haven't seen him for a little while.
Yeah.
Again, there's been no Roman. There's also been no Heyman, which has been a loss on TV as well. And that's where they announced the stipulation for the match for Riddle. And then we got to Riddle v Ciampa match later on in the night. Which Riddle obviously won. I don't really, again, speaking, it's been a theme, directionless characters. I don't know what Ciampa's doing right now. He's just randomly blindsiding people, having a match, losing, then blindsiding someone else, having a match, losing. I don't really get what he's doing.
If
for Ciampa.
It's building into something, But
if he was joining Judgment Day, or he just give him a feud. He's doing such, like, why did they attack Riddle? I think it was last week. He attacked Riddle, and then he's got a match this week against him, and then that's it. Now he'll just attack someone else, I'm sure. But yeah, strange from Ciampa, I think.
it's a shame, isn't it? I mean, he did have a good match. He's not getting squashed.
Yeah, no, he is very good in ring, Ciampa.
They're giving him the time is what I'm more happy about, I suppose. But as you say, he's not really doing anything. I don't know where he can go from this.
No, nor do I. And they're not letting him speak either. He hasn't cut any promos yet. I mean, no, he's good on the mic. We've seen him in NXT a lot. He was basically
another one I was
basically running the show
about coming up.
Yeah.
Again, they've proved me wrong with Gunther, but he's almost too gritty for the main roster. I think Judgment Day would have been a perfect place for him to go because of his character and promo style. I think really could have worked. I'm concerned. I can't lie. I am concerned.
Yeah, I agree. It's been a bit of a mess.
But again, so far. Just showing this Raw was literally just matches just thrown in for the sake of it. I mean, what was this match?
And this is the thing. We like variety, but we also want there to be a purpose for a match. And some of these matches seem to have
it has to be a good match. I think the problem is here, though. These matches were thrown into a good Raw. I wouldn't have noticed, and I thought, oh, this is nice and fresh. But the fact that the main event stuff was pretty poor, was making it a bit lackluster. And we had another one that was similar. We had Cedric versus MVP.
And MVP won as well.
Yeah, I couldn't care it less.
Poor Cedric. Yeah, there goes his chances of ever having a moment in WWE. Cedric.
He's such a good wrestler as well, isn't he?
He's amazing. He is so good, Cedric. Him and Ali are, and Ali's another one who had a pointless match, by the way. Speaking of him, he lost to Chad Gable on the show as well.
Exactly.
Another example, random. But they're so good. They're so good.
And this
they're just not being used properly.
What we've just said there, that we've mentioned 3 or 4 matches in the space of a minute. That shows the comparison to the quality on Smackdown. We spent so much more time discussing each match. This has no purpose.
I know.
There's nothing to say. It's just they lost. Great. Okay. On to the next thing. It's a bit of a shame, really, isn't it? But I'm hoping we're going to pick it up in the next couple of weeks in the way to Money in the Bank. Because it's such a big pay-per-view.
Let's hope so. We also got Veer beat Rey Mysterio, but we won't go into that one too much. But potentially, again, there's a little storyline there. But
there's a storyline, but the care factor's not there, is it?
Fussed. I mean, what I'm a bit more fussed on is Ezekiel and KO. They had a match.
Yes.
This has been a long-term storyline, and okay, the match itself was all right. Again, the thing is with Ezekiel Elias is the character's all right, but in ring it's quite standard for me. I don't think there's nothing special in ring, Ezekiel. So, like, he can tell a good story outside of the ring, but then he gets in the ring and the match is never going to be a blockbuster match. But what is interesting here, I mean, he won by count out, but we have Elias coming back next week for a concert. What the hell are they going to do?
I think they're just going to stick a beard on him, like, just stick one on him. Because, I mean, they can do some great effects, can't they? It'd be quite funny if they made it really obvious that it wasn't Elias, just like a beard with a strap around his head or something like that.
I wish they could find a way to find someone who looks just like Elias to come out with Ezekiel.
You never know. They might do. He might have an actual brother. Who knows?
Yeah. Or maybe they're actually 2 different people. Maybe he's been right the whole time.
Imagine. Hello, my name is Elias.
That'd be amazing. But I'm looking forward to that next week. I have to admit, they've got me there. I'm looking forward to seeing what the hell they do there.
For the comedy factor, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been quite critical in the past on this feud, but actually, yeah, I'm looking forward to this just to see what happens.
Yeah. Is that all from Raw? I think
we've gone through everything. Yeah. Not too much to say on that, but it's a bit of a poor show, to be honest. Very average.
Wasn't the best. So let's finish with NXT then.
Yeah.
So we kicked off the show with a tag team title match. The Creed brothers against Idris Enofe and Malik Blade. which I thought was a really good match, actually.
Yeah,
I've said before how much I like Idris and Ofe and Blade. I think they're really good together. Especially Idris. I think he's a clear standout in that team, but a really good match, and Creed brothers retain.
Creed is spot on. I really think they're impressive.
Yeah, they're
even
amazing.
when they were doing their strange, like their amateur wrestling where they sort of like roll on the floor. They even made that interesting. Normally, I don't like that, but he's a big lad. I'm not sure which one it is.
I think isn't Julius the bigger one? Well, they're both fairly.
I'm not too sure, but
Brutus.
they
Probably
make
Brutus.
It look good. I think it was Brutus actually. Yeah, Brutus. Yeah, and he makes it look good. I really like it. As you say, both teams were good, and they had a great match. Ending with the Creed winning, wasn't it? So.
Yeah, still champs. Obviously the right decision. And we then got like a follow up later on where Roddy backstage was talking to them and having a go at them for accepting the match, and obviously more fuel to the fire. There's no turn yet, but eventually Roddy's going to get kicked out of Dynamite, and he's
whenever
WWE
decides they want to release him, that is, doesn't it?
Yeah,
and then he can boom.
Yeah, appear on AEW and have some random matches over there. But he will definitely be jumping ship, I think.
To go join his mates.
Exactly.
He's the guy in the group chat, just like sending sad faces to everything they say in the Undisputed Era chat. Bless him. That must be awful. I bet they all chat and they're like, "Oh, good show tonight," and he's like, "What did you do, Roddy?" "Oh, I told someone off for taking a match."
Yeah. I don't know what I'm doing.
Oh dear.
So we got the debut of Joe Gacy's disciples, which according to the website, I didn't know this, but they're called the Dyad.
That's it, the Dyad. I put in brackets red dudes.
Yep, and
red cloak dudes.
How did they wrestle and not like
trip over?
Were they in like a full mask? Like, I assumed at some point they would be revealed.
They were fully
in this
hooded.
match, and covering their face as well.
Yeah.
I don't really know how they wrestled like that. I mean, they obviously can see through, but it must kind of be comfortable to wrestle.
I guess it's similar to the material that the likes of some of the luchas have, where it goes over their eyes, but you can see through it quite clearly. They didn't do too much, to be fair, though, did they? They just kind of destroyed.
No, they beat a couple of nobodies really. But
that's it.
I mean, do you have any inclination on who the hell these guys are? Because I don't.
No. The only thing that I got slightly suspicious of was the finisher. I can't remember who used to do a finisher like that. It wasn't the DDT pipe, it's the first bit. It might be FTR's finisher, which, to be honest,
I don't think it's them.
Definitely not. It's not them. Yeah, it's definitely not them. I can't remember.
So my first thought was Grizzled Young Vets when this originally came about, but they both seem really tall, and Grizzled Young Vets aren't that tall. I just don't think it's them based on the body shape.
It'd be awesome if it is them.
Yeah, James Drake isn't very tall, and these two guys both seem quite tall. And I mean, unless they're wrestling on stilts, I don't know how it's.
You've got some platforms on.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how it's going to work, but yeah, very intrigued. And I don't know when they're going to be announced or shown to see who they are. But yeah, interesting.
I'm glad we've moved on now from the main title scene.
We have, and Braun Breaker did actually have a title match on the show, beat Duke Hudson for the title.
Just absolutely destroyed him, didn't he?
Yeah, but then afterwards we got Cameron Grimes come down, who seemed quite pissed off.
Yeah. I to be honest,
more heelish.
If I was to have just an NXT top mark, I think this may have clinched it. This was a real good promo. This was solid.
Cameron Grimes had a really good show, actually. I quite like his direction after losing the title. He's just gone a bit more savage. And he speaks really well. He's just such a good on the mic talker, Cameron Grimes.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see him doing something a bit more serious than his stupid, over the top to the moon stuff.
Yeah.
I think he even said to the moon here, but he said it like clearer.
He said basically, I don't want the stupid gimmicks and catchphrases. If I'm going to go to the moon, let's fire the rocket or something like that. Let's launch or something, which is it was a really good line. Yeah, he won me over here. He really sold this promo to me. It was banging.
Yeah, I this version of Cameron Grimes, I can really get behind this version. And he also told off, if that's the right phrase, yeah, he had a go at Idris and Malik as well, because they were going to go to the club after losing their match, and he had a go at them for being silly and to be more serious. But he kind of had a few. I mean, I think he's just going to have a match against one of them next week, probably. That's probably why that happened. But he's just just his demeanor.
A couple of wins under his belt, doesn't he? Before
his demeanor will show, and I would love him to be champion. By the way, I don't.
So when is the North American Bash? I know we haven't got Fax Fisher here, so we might struggle.
I have absolutely no idea.
That's when he's challenged. Where is the Fax? I bet Fisher's ears are just burning.
Yeah, no, Fisher's going to listen to this podcast.
His wrestling sense is.
Well, and also, so just while I've remembered that, why? I thought Apollo was coming back to challenge for the title.
I know he's come back to NXT, but I didn't know who's.
Well, he last week he came out during Bron Breakker, didn't he? As like Bron Breakker was like, "There's no one left, or who's next" or something. And then Apollo's music hit, and Apollo came down. And I know he had a tag team match last week, but I thought he might be the next challenger. But yeah, I don't know what Apollo. Again, he was on this show. He had a weird. Like video package where he was
pretty cool actually.
He was in a canteen and beat someone up.
I quite like that. I actually did quite like that. Good old Apollo. I like just the fact we're seeing him on TV. Yeah, he's a great wrestler. He just didn't quite click, did he, on the main roster, which is a shame.
Well, yeah, all right. He was US champ for a bit. Had that feud with Big E. I mean, he's done all right for himself. He's not been great, but I think it's the right decision for him to come back down. I mean, I don't know what happens to Commander Aziz now. Probably next up on the release list, unfortunately, because I don't know what they do with him, because he's not great in ring, and he was just the bodyguard for Apollo. If he's not joined him, I don't know what he's doing, Aziz. But yeah, I was just confused. I thought Apollo might be in the title picture, and
might get it between. It's the 5th of July, so we've got 3 weeks really till North American Bash. So we might get that match at some point in between. In the build, it does seem a bit of a waste, because I think it could be an absolute scorcher.
Yeah, but I actually agree with you. I think Apollo we should see him just not be in the title picture straight away. Let's just see him get some wins, have good matches, and then down the line, let's go for a title.
I wouldn't mind seeing him hold the title for a while as well, when Breaker's ready to move up.
Yeah, maybe, but Breaker's only just, well, not only just, but he's already lost the title once.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want to do it again.
You can only really do it if you're bringing him up, and I don't know if they'll bring him up yet. Maybe they will. They're struggling for stars.
Yeah,
maybe
it could be good to bring him up.
Absolutely elevate him to the main roster. We also got, speaking of potentially elevating to the main roster, Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams. They had a tag team match against Stacks and Two Dimes. I know you guys mentioned last week that I think one of those two has been released.
Two Dimes has been released, but I believe these are recorded 2 weeks.
Yeah, so interesting. I don't know how they're going to write him off TV, but yeah, he is.
I think the best way is if you have Legado start to almost kidnap him, get rid of people. That could be quite cool.
I'm not sure on this Legado in Tony D'Angelo's crew thing yet. It feels weird. Escobar's obviously playing it quite well, but it's a strange dynamic, isn't it? I think at the moment. But obviously the point of this match was Tony D'Angelo's claiming he should be up next for the North American title. So D'Angelo and Hayes is going to be again. I thought Solo Sikoa was next up, but it seems to be Tony D'Angelo.
Next week? This is next week, isn't it? So this isn't at the North American Bash. So
is it next week?
Yeah, this is next week. So maybe Solo will be at North American Bash.
Yeah, and I guess you just have
Or the Great
Escobar,
American Bash. I
Cost.
don't know why I'm calling it North American Bash.
Yeah, okay, great. Yeah, that makes more sense. North America. I was thinking North American title.
That's
North
the
American
title,
Bash.
isn't it?
Yeah.
The
God.
Great American
We are-
Bash.
Without facts, Fisher, we're all over the shop.
We're having an absolute disaster.
Don't know the dates.
He's going to be
anything.
frothing at the mouth. He's going to be
He
seething.
is. He's going to
How
come back next
dare
week
you.
and tell us obviously like Cameron Grimes next week, having a go at us.
Yes.
Tell us to be more serious. But yeah, we I mean, I guess you just have Escobar cost Tony D'Angelo the title in the match next week, and that's where you get D'Angelo to lose about losing too much, I assume. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what they do there.
Something that wasn't it didn't make the skid mark list, but I weren't too keen on it. Was you had Fallon versus Stratton, Tiffany Stratton in a sort of a rematch. They called it a rematch from
like the semi-final one.
the qualifiers, but
yeah,
I thought it was a brilliant match last time. And this was just stupid. I mean, you had Wendy Chu come out on a space hopper, fire a party popper in Tiffany Stratton's face, and then she got rolled up by Fallon, Fallon Henley, which just made it just seem pants. I mean, that those two could really wrestle, and it's just made a joke of it. Which, the more I think about it, the skiddier this is.
He's gonna have 2 skid marks this week.
Yeah, I think it nearly is actually. I'm really going off Wendy Chu. I mean, she was good in ring, but
yeah,
I don't want a backstage segment, but coming in and interrupting a match.
Yeah, her character is a bit too silly. I struggle with that. Actually, I do struggle with.
So yeah, have
Wendy
a double
Chu.
skid today. I'm taking Fisher's skid.
A second skid.
I'm stealing Fisher's skid and putting it on Wendy Chu. But yeah, it's just a shame. Just I hope that doesn't happen again. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be Tiffany Stratton versus Wendy Chu feud here, and we're going to get lots of party poppers and stuff going off.
I think you're probably right. I'll just reel off a couple of matches quickly. Not much to say on either of these, unless you've got anything. But we had Wesley beat Zion Quinn. Nice to see Wesley get a win.
Twice now.
Yeah.
So great to see him in ring, and his finisher is insane.
He's such a good wrestler, Wesley. So good.
Yeah, I'm glad they've kept hold of him.
And yeah, I mean, I said it before. I'm so glad he's being used after releasing his partner. And another, again, they're calling it a debut, but Giovanni Vinci, aka Fabian Eichner, he showed how good he is. I thought again he was so good in ring here. Beat Guru Raj. So, I mean, again, maybe I'm being obvious here, but maybe we see something with him towards the D'Angelo. You know, he's got the Italian heritage. He's quite clear. I quite like his entrance, how he kind of come out and kept taking like headshots, kept like taking pictures of his face, and he was wearing like almost like a Gucci style gear as well. He just obviously he's
it's a character I never thought I'd see him play, but
yeah, going from his serious Imperium to this is a bit odd. Yeah.
But I suppose it shows his broad spectrum, which is what they want for the main roster. I suppose if he can pull this off, they may. He's
so good. I mean, I'm still surprised they didn't call him up, because he is a better wrestler than Marcel Bartel or Ludwig Kaiser.
He just didn't have the mic skill, did he? And that's what they wanted.
Yeah, well, that's exactly why.
He got it, has he?
Shot me down there.
Sorry, I cut straight.
No, you're right. No, you're right. Yeah, that's exactly why I didn't call him up. So I'm confused. But you just told me why.
Texting Vince saying why. Yeah. I was doing Fisher passed me his number.
Fisher's too busy having dinner with Tony Khan right now.
Yeah, ready for his solo pod tomorrow. Bless him. Make sure you check out all the podcasts, by the way.
Yes.
Fisher does release his own AEW ones at the moment.
Does a splendid job. It's not easy to record a pod on your own, so fair play to Fisher for that. Absolute trooper, that boy.
He is. He's the charge in Recharge.
He is. The only thing we haven't mentioned really is the main event. We had a 6-woman tag: Cora, Roxanne, and Indy Hartwell against Toxic Attraction.
Nice to see Indy Hartwell being thrown into this, because I see they think these are their stars. I think here, And the fact they put Indy Hartwell in amongst this, I think is really good for it. And I think she suits it. I think this could actually be the best story she may end up having in terms of getting some serious wrestling done.
I did like her in a way, I have to admit. I did like her with
it was
Candice.
Good, but it's a change again, isn't it? A change of character, which they need. I think they fell into the trap with the Black and Yellow Black brand of having the same characters for so long. They struggled to move into the main roster when they wanted them to do something different.
Yeah, and I think she was one I was worried about when they released Dexter and Persia Pirotta at the same time.
Yeah,
her tag team partner and her on-screen husband both being released together. You think, well, what's Indy Hartwell going to do now? They've just completely stripped all of her story away from her, but she's come back.
Well, interesting. They mentioned that she actually mentioned about losing them.
Yeah,
which was usually they don't do that at WWE. So no, it's quite interesting.
It is, and they've done this a few times now. They get Toxic Attraction in 6-person feuds a lot, which you don't see a lot of in the women's division. You don't see a lot of 6-woman feuds with a team of 3 against another 3. They've done it a few times. They did it with Wendy Chu and the what's her name? Not Casey Catanzaro now, her new name, and Caden Carter. Those 3 were in a feud with Toxic Attraction. Now it seems to be these
really
3.
Interesting. I really like it. It's good, and that's why we've said it before. Toxic would be perfect on the main roster.
Yeah, they would. I mean, do you reckon, are we getting Cora Jade and Indy Hartwell tag team with Roxanne going for the main belt? As Roxanne is the woman who won that breakout tournament, has a title shot. So Cora Jade and Indy Hartwell is an interesting tag team. Maybe it's the best place for both of them. You know, maybe they're not quite strong enough on their own, but as a team, they might be quite good.
Good way of elevating them both, actually. Yeah, I think it could be good. They see a hell of a lot in Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez as well. So it's nice to see Indy sort of tagged onto this. And obviously Toxic Attraction took the L here.
Yes.
Cora Jade with a senton. Looked like she actually did hurt Gigi Dolan. I think she landed on her. So again, Cora showing her in-ring freshness, but still trying new things and looking decent overall. Look forward to see what happens with that. That is something I'm quite looking forward to.
Yeah, me too. It was a decent NXT this week actually. It wasn't too bad.
I think we've covered the whole weeks of WWE's wrestling there.
Yeah,
I think there anything else to say? So
no.
I hope you're feeling recharged there. We haven't been too skiddy. Fax Fisher hopes to be back next week. Maybe we'll even add all 3 of us. Let's see what happens there.
That's the dream. That's the dream.
That's it. You need the full bloodline back.
Yeah.
I hope you've enjoyed it. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe. It really does encourage us. Check out our other videos. We've got Keeney's GM mode still running. I don't think that's ever going to stop.
I think we're on like week 45 or something now. So we're very close. There's like 5 weeks left. So we're very close to the end. Or well, 5 days left. Like there's one a day. So we are close to the end now. But
if there was ever a time to get involved, and that now's the time, then it's sort of trailing off to the end.
And if you haven't seen it yet, go back and watch them all. There's like 50 episodes to watch. So
if you fancy watching 5 hours of my GM mode, then
Well, no, they're only 10 minutes.
They're brilliant. Yeah, they're
very short episodes.
They are good.
Yeah.
And also you've got Fisher's AEW reviews if you're into AEW. We started to separate it just so you can find that content that you are after. I hope you're enjoying this format. Follow us on Twitter at RechargeWrestle. Like I say, I hope you've enjoyed this. I'm Crust and I've been with Keeney. Goodbye.
See you next time, guys.